Welcome to a series of videos produced by Action Manufacturing to keep you on track with your track chair. In this installment, AJ from Action Manufacturing will demonstrate how to remove and replace the batteries in an Action Trackchair NT or NR track stander. We'll begin with the necessary tools. Let's start with changing batteries on the NR stander. First, raise the chair to the full standing position to provide access to the components below. With the seat raised, shut down the chair using the joystick control. Loosen the mounting bolts on the motor controller using the 3/8" wrench. Keep track of these pieces by only loosening them and not removing them completely. Lift the controller out of the frame. Roll the unit over and you'll see the red and black power snap connection. Release by compressing the lock tab on the side and then leave it otherwise connected and simply set it aside as illustrated. Now we remove the footrest by removing the two clip pins. With that out of the way, we'll illustrate the removal of the foot pans. This process varies between new and older models, as newer models have the USB port and the charger plug mounted on the back wall of the foot pan. We'll start with these older models where it simply involves removing 6 9/16" bolts and nuts. The newer models will require disconnecting the USB port and the charge plug before the foot pan can be removed. Start by removing the 2 9/16" mounting bolts at the top of the pan. Then tilt the pan forward, exposing the back of the two plugs. Simply disconnect the two wires from the back of the USB port. Next, move to the charger plug, loosening the two small screws using the Phillips driver to loosen the black plastic housing that secures the charger cord. Now you can remove the pan by squeezing the side panels together and setting to the side. The next step is to loosen the two J-bolts that hold the batteries in place. Completed, we can disconnect the Anderson battery connectors by simply pulling them apart. Next, using the diagonal cutter, cut the zip ties that bundle and secure the cords to the battery bar. Now we can remove the J-bolts and the battery bar, and with the batteries free, lift them out of the frame. Once removed, use the 2 1/2" wrenches to remove the connecting bolts from the battery post. Perfect. Now let's reverse the process and get the two new batteries back into the chair. Remember to place them with the posts to the inside or center, sliding them as close together as possible. Reconnect the two Anderson battery connectors and the red-black power cable to the control unit. Now, before going any further, let's check our connections by turning the chair back on at the joystick controller and making sure we have full chair function. If not, go back and check all wire connections. With that done, shut it back off and complete the reassembly. We start by installing the black metal battery bar using the two J-bolts and making sure we get them both properly seated at the base. Now when tightening the bolts, we want tight, but not so tight we risk cracking the battery top. With this completed, we can gather up the slack in the cords, bundle them with a zip tie, and use the second zip tie to attach the bundle to the battery bar. With the batteries installed, we can start putting the chair back together. We'll start with installing the black plastic spacers, putting the back two on first. These simply slide onto the axle bolt as shown. Now pick up the foot pan, once again squeezing the sidewalls towards each other and working it into place, lining the holes up in the pan to line up with those two rear axle bolts, replacing the washers, and start the two nylock nuts. With the foot pan still tilted forward, reconnect the power cord for the charger and install the two-piece housing that secures it. Do this by tightening the two small screws with the Phillips head driver as shown. The USB port is next. You'll note that the two posts are labeled with positive and negative designations. Make sure you have these wires properly connected. With these connections made, let's finish up mounting the metal foot pan. The two bolt nut sets you see being installed are 1 inch, not the longer 1.5 inch bolts you'll need in the next step. Next is where those longer 1.5 inch bolts come in. First, put the bolt assembly in order, with the lock washer installed first, next to the bolt head. Next, slide on the flat washer. With this completed, push the bolt assembly through the wall of the foot pan, through the black plastic spacers, and into the axle. Use the torque wrench with the 9/16 socket to tighten them, setting them to 135 inch-pounds. Over-torquing these bolts can result in damage to the wheel bushings. We'll finish up by reinstalling the adjustable Action Trackchair footrest to the desired height. That's it, and you're set to go with two brand new batteries.